Unafraid, Reister or Wrong. George Reister here. Thank you guys for joining me. Please make sure you swipe up, like the feed, share the feed. Appreciate your time. Couple good things up for you guys today. One of them being extremely obvious. A Willie Taggart, Florida State, Oregon update. LiAngelo Ball gets pulled out of school by his dad, Lavar. Pulled out of UCLA. Mind you, this is the same kid that got arrested in China for shoplifting. Ryan Shazier got injured for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They gave out some information on that, and I'm going to tell you how these things happen, why these things happen, and really tell you guys a cool story. Well, an interesting story about when I was playing, about some things that had happened when I was playing and where I had not a similar situation, but something like that as well. But first of all, where we're going to start at today. Where we're going to start at is, I don't know if you guys know, but there was yesterday the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court held arguments on sports gambling. I don't know if you guys gamble on sports or not, but I would be but coming from Clay Travis and some of these guys who follow this extremely closely, they felt like that they would be very surprised if the federal prohibition isn't struck down. That a couple justices seem opposed to PASPA, and that they think it'll pass, which will mean you will be able to you will be able to gamble in your particular state potentially very, very soon. I think that that's very interesting in and of itself, because sports gambling factors into everything that everybody does. Like, it factors into the lines, they bet on coaching changes. You guys bet on everything under the sun. We're going to get into the Ryan Shazier hit and the Juju Smith hit as well. The Juju Smith hit I felt was legal. Thought it was legal. Bad things happen to good people sometimes. And Perfect, he's a dude who's been, this is almost karma-like. I hope the man is okay. However, in sports and football, you play a violent game. Bad things happen. Sometimes you get hurt, and it sucks. It really does suck. And I feel bad for Perfect for being hurt. But you're playing a violent game. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. It is what it is. So where we're going to start today is, to continue on, is Willie Taggart, Florida State, right? So last night I tweeted out, I said, next man up for Oregon, Willie Taggart to be the next head coach of Florida State. It's still go Ducks though. So here is where we are at with that. Anybody that follows me, if you're new here or whatever, you would know that I don't typically quote unquote break news. Like, that's not what I do. I give opinions on things, and I try to be honest and share with you guys about what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world of sports, being a father, dad, all the stuff that you guys care about. Like, that's what I talk about on a daily basis. And, speaking of that, real quick though, send all your emails to unafraidshow@gmail.com for the anonymous emails. So every Wednesday, I put out the anonymous emails. That's where people, if you go to unafraidshow.com, you can check it out. Every Wednesday, I put them out. People throughout the week send me their crazy situations, whether it's love, sex, relationships, friends, all the crazy stuff that happens. We have some good ones this week, but send yours in. I will never reveal who sent it in. Okay, so back to the Taggart situation. I said I typically don't break news. I'm an opinionist. Like, I give opinions on things and try to break it down for you guys. And I try to be honest as I can be. And I understand how important this is to everybody. The Willie Taggart and his family. Like, being that the man has uprooted his family 4 times in since 2007, trying to get his dream job and achieve all his life goals. I understand how important it is to the Oregon players, fans, Florida State fans, Florida State players, and recruits, right? So last night when I tweeted it out, I double and triple checked this piece of information. And there is, so the fact that all was quiet after was very curious to me. Like, it's very curious that there has not been an announcement, because we've seen with these coaching changes and these coaching switches, there is never, ever, ever a quiet time when these things happen. There are leaks everywhere and all this. So when I tweeted it out, I was full well expecting that this thing would magnify and go, and that you would see Bruce Feldman and some of these other people who typically break news tweet it. So I found it very curious that we haven't heard anything. So I will tell you what I believe that means. And when I say that I double and triple check, like, these are people who are extremely close to the situation, not just extremely close, but like, these aren't quote unquote sources. Like, these are people who I've developed friendships with through the years of playing pro football, playing college football, and all this. And you have to look at the situation, because last year Oregon saw an 11th hour change with Dan Mullins, because he was supposed to be the new Oregon coach before Willie Taggart, but then something got leaked and he ended up staying at Mississippi State, and now he's at Florida. So what could be the issues or the barriers to why we haven't heard more right now? So you have to consider the fact that there could be an issue with the staff in terms of who Florida State wants Willie Taggart to come with him. Could be an issue of, like, literally the buyout. And there could be an issue of the man went to sleep. He didn't sign his MOU, which is the Memorandum of Understanding, yet. Don't know if he signed it, but he could have went to sleep. Wife changes her mind. All this stuff, because there's a lot of pressure from a lot of people. Because you have to remember that they are up against deadlines. Oregon plays its bowl game in, I think, 11 days. The National Signing Day, early signing period, is in 15 or 16 days. So there have to be answers to all these questions that are going on. So there's pressure from every single situation. And while I stand behind what I said last night, there is also the possibility that something could have changed. And when you look at the recruits, when you look at the recruits, and you look at their life, you had the kid Miles Battle, who thought he was having a home visit yesterday. Home visit gets rescheduled, and then it gets postponed. Willie Taggart, I've seen reports that said that he's still in Arizona, he's in Eugene, Oregon. I'm pretty sure he's in Eugene, Oregon, or at least was last night. Don't know where he is now, but yeah. And he's always talked about that he wanted to be the one to tell his team. And it's finals week at Oregon. So you know what that means? That means the kids are going to be all over the place. They still have workouts, like in terms of strength and conditioning and all that. And so him getting to the stadium to talk to everybody at the same time, that could present problematic. And last night, Florida State was gearing up for a press conference today to announce their head coach. And if we do some simple math, right, assuming that Willie Taggart is still in Eugene right now, if you were going to fly on a private plane from Eugene, Oregon to Tallahassee, Florida, that's going to take you about 6 hours. So it's going to take about 6 hours. And you're going to have to stop somewhere. You're likely not going to be able to fly straight there on a plane. You're going to stop and refuel. So it's going to take you about 6 hours to get there. Plus, you're not already ready to go. So you got to get to the airport, get your family, all of these things that are barriers to this. So the idea of a press conference happening is probably not accurate today. But I do believe that there will be a resolution. Is there any truth to the Florida State 5 years, $35 million? So here's what happened last night. if you heard that and you read places saying that Florida State lowballed him initially, Willie Taggart was upset about it, that is generally accepted by everybody as truth. And I've heard that as truth as well. And so Florida State, they thought that he was just going to just walk in and take the job, and that did not happen. So being that that did not happen, the Florida State had to rebound, try to bounce back, and make the offer, because when you look at the coaching market that's been set this year, Dan Mullins left Mississippi State without a championship, goes down to Florida, gets $6 million a year. Scott Frost leaves Central Florida, goes to Nebraska, gets $5 million a year. If you're Willie Taggart, would you be willing to leave Oregon, even if it's your quote-unquote dream job or anything like that, for less than $5 million? Probably not, because everybody wants to be paid fair market value for what it is that they do. The next thing up is that, from my understanding, that the holdup right now is the buyout. Because if you're Florida State, you want to make sure that you're in a situation that you're not in with Jimbo Fisher. Because Jimbo Fisher, who is rep by Jimmy Sexton, who is Willie Taggart's agent, his buyout at Florida State, if Florida State would have fired Jimbo Fisher, was $39 million. He had the second highest buyout in all of college football, behind Dabo Swinney, who had $40 million worth of a buyout. And then third, I think, is Nick Saban with 26. He's a mediocre coach who hasn't – Taggart's a mediocre coach who hasn't won anything. I will address that in just a second. So if you're Florida State, you don't want to be tethered to a coach for $39, $40 million again. And if you're Willie Taggart, you want the stability of, if I'm uprooting my family, uprooting my good situation, and burning all these bridges and having people upset with me, I need the guarantee of financial security long term. So the buyout is definitely going to be an issue. People have said that he's a mediocre coach. No, he's not a mediocre coach. Mediocre coaches can't put together staffs and recruit like Willie Taggart has been able to do. They cannot recruit on that level. I'll get to the next up if he does leave. They can't recruit on the same level. And Willie Taggart has shown an ability to coach, motivate, because he turned a group of dudes who didn't like each other into a good football team, a cohesive football team. Because if you saw the Ducks last year, their energy was low. They didn't seem to care on that level. And he turned them into that. And people point to his coaching record. They're like, oh, it's a mediocre coaching record. No, it's not. When you look at when he took over Western Kentucky, they were a dumpster fire. And he turned dumpster fire into a good team. Left that job, went to South Florida. Turned a desolate South Florida team into a winning program, which Charlie Strong is in charge of right now. Then comes to Oregon. Oregon went 4-8. Took the team, got them together, went 7-5, and would have probably won 9 or 10 games had Justin Herbert not gotten injured. So, no, the man's not a mediocre coach. But the next question is, who would be the next up for Oregon if they're able to get this buyout situation worked out? Ideally, Oregon would want to keep Coach – obviously, they would want to keep Coach Stalabea, the D-line coach. They would want to keep Cristobal, and they would want to keep so Cristobal, and they would want to keep Levitt as well. But Levitt, who has a out in his contract for the Kansas State job, which he got screwed out of, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. So he wants to be a head coach. Jim Levitt wants to be a head coach. But if you are Florida State, you want Cristobal, because your problem with your team the last few years has been the offensive line. And Cristobal has coached against Nick Saban, coached with Nick Saban, and recruiting against him is a big deal. It's a huge deal. I would not argue that Oregon would have ended up with a similar record had they retained Helfrich. No way. Their defense was awful. They didn't play hard. It was terrible. Do I think the Ducks should go after Charlie Strong? No. No, I wouldn't go after Charlie Strong at this point in time. I would consider it, but he would be ahead of Kevin Sumlin on my list, though, I tell you that much. So if I'm Oregon, obviously you have a couple options. You have Brian Harsin at Boise State. You have Justin Wilcox at Cal, he played at Oregon. His brother Josh played at Oregon. They are like Oregon legacy people. So that's the huge deal that you have to account for. So, and then obviously everybody keeps throwing Willie Taggart, Lane Kiffin's name around. Lane Kiffin, I know he's like persona non grata sometimes and some of his off the field antics, but are you all in on winning? Because last year they kicked the tires on him. They kicked the tires on him. And they decided to go against him because of some of his off the field stuff, much like everybody else did. And when you look at Oregon's situation, something I don't think that many people are pointing to is the number of players that they have on their team. Because initially when I was looking, I was like, hold up. They already have like 25 or 26 commits. How are they still offering kids and hoping that some of these other kids sign? Well, that's because in spring ball for next year, Oregon is going to have about 55 to 60 players, depending on, can you imagine that? 55 to 60 players could be, give or take a couple, because of graduation, because of transfers, retirements, stuff like that. Because they have, I think, 95 players on the team at this point in time right now. That means that you can't do spring ball, can't have a full spring game. The team is thin right now, extremely, extremely thin. And so to keep the recruiting class intact, you want to keep Levitt, Cristobal, and Arroyo, Salavea, those guys. Those are the guys for sure that you want to keep. Because you have to assume that Willie would take at least a couple guys with him, like his good friends that came from South Florida with him. And it's awful and terrible because this situation has continued to drag out and play out, and it's gotten salty for a lot of Oregon fans. It's gotten salty for a lot of Florida State fans. Because one former Florida State player I talked to yesterday, he was like, bro, at this point in time, I hope we lose Willie Taggart and just hire somebody, because this is a disaster. This has been a bad deal with Jimbo leaving and then, all of this. No, I'm not salty. Obviously, as an Oregon fan, you don't want your program to potentially break apart and have something that could fracture your team in general. Where are the Lions? The Lions are in the other room. I'm putting together a whole little deal for this thing every day. So yeah, I'm out here today. So the question is, if Willie Taggart, if he does stay, people are going to be salty, but then they're also going to say, well, how about the next time your quote-unquote dream job comes up? Well, you have to assume that won't happen again, or at least not anytime soon, because why would anybody – because I believe that the only job that he would have left Oregon for is potentially Florida State. And nobody believed that Florida State was going to come open because Jimbo Fisher had just signed, I think, like a $50 million deal like the year before. So why on earth would anybody think that job would come available? It hasn't come available in 41 years. Is he officially gone or not? No, he's not officially gone at this point in time. There have been some developments over the night. How confident am I that there will be an official decision today? I mean, it cannot keep dragging out like this. It just can't. They have to finish their home visits. Florida State, because you have to think that even if Willie Taggart is unwilling or unable to finalize and make a decision, the decision is going to be made for him at some point in time. And it's got to be today. because at the point in time that Florida State is holding themselves hostage, messing up their recruiting classes, messing up all this stuff, dragging this thing out, why on earth would they continue to let this play out? And if you're Oregon, you're in the same spot. You don't let this continue to drag out. You have to do something else. Why did I tweet out that that he was gone next man up? Because that's what, at that point in time, that's what my intelligence told me. And do I still stand by that? Yes, I still stand by that until I hear something else. Because these are not, the people I talk to are people that are not only close to the situation, these are people in the situation, not close to, in the situation. So I've been honest in the situation. Everything that I've told you has been honest, open, and truthful. Heard from like people not surrounding the situation, not sources in the situation. Does he have an in-home this morning? No, he does not have an in-home this morning. They rescheduled to some point in time later. FSU doesn't want to pay his buyout. No, of course. His buyout isn't even that much. It's like in between like $3 and $5 million, I believe. So that's not an issue. The issue is the buyout on the school side, which is, so there's a difference between a buyout for the coach to leave and there's a buyout for the school to fire him. Those are two separate things. How can he come back to Oregon if, after all this, easy he could go back. I mean, you just say, you know, I listened to it. I decided this is where my heart is. I love the University of Oregon. I'm not leaving, period. Everybody, and all is forgiven after you win some football games. That's the truth. Like, people aren't going to hold this against you once you go win 10 games and go to the Pac and win the Pac-12 championship. They're going to be like, that was a blip on the radar. No problem. I'll come back to this in a minute, but I wanted to get to the next topic, which is Ryan Shazier. Ryan Shazier from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hold on. Somebody just said that Taggart tweeted. Let's see what he's talking about. Yeah, so hold on. Let me see. I'll give it to you right now. Oh, no, he didn't tweet anything. He tweeted congratulations to the other coach. Yeah, so no, he hasn't said that he's going on the road to Florida. Right, I'm saying to Texas right now. There's no tweet on his. Oh, you're talking about Coach Orgeron. Wait, Coach Arroyo. Oh, okay, Coach Arroyo. So, whoa. If Coach Arroyo is going to Texas and Coach Taggart is not going to Texas, that could be interesting. That could definitely be interesting. Hold on. Yeah. So I'll check that out as well. So as I said, I stand by what I said yesterday, and until I hear something different, I will let you guys know immediately. But back to Ryan Shazier, and then I'll get back to Oregon because Willie Taggart. I want to hit this real quick and then go back to Willie Taggart and Oregon situation in a minute with their players, because they can sign 32 players in their recruiting class this year. So Ryan Shazier, the Pittsburgh Steelers player, if you saw on Twitter last night, because of course you were, because Twitter was blowing up last night. If you're watching this, you saw what happened to Ryan Shazier. So they said that he has filling in all his legs and all that stuff. He underwent an MRI and a CAT scan, all that stuff. He's at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center after he had the back injury, and he's not going to require surgery at this time. And that got me to thinking, because I will tell you that's one of the scariest parts about playing football is these types of injuries. I remember the first time that I saw one, I was at the University of Oregon. There's this dude I played with named Adolph Keys. He actually ended up getting carted off on a stretcher and then you have to go finish the game. Like, there is nothing more difficult, nothing more painful that when you're on that field and you see somebody else get hurt and can't move their extremities and you have to go finish the game. That is painful. That is difficult. That is hard. Like, there's nothing worse than that in terms of a player on the field besides you being the person laying there. And I remember when I was in Jacksonville, because I was a player, I had spinal stenosis. So I used to have like all type of potential issues. I've had 2 back surgeries, all that. I remember I was playing in Jacksonville and I was running through the hole. So I played tight end, but I was playing like a fullback position. Run through the hole and I'm going to go hit a linebacker. I trip over a lineman's leg and I'm falling down like this, kind of like Ryan Shazier was last night. And I run into Big John Henderson. If you know Big John Henderson, he's like 6'7", 250, 260. You used to see him on Hard Knocks and we were there. He was the guy that got slapped by the trainer like that guy. I bumped into him. I fell on the ground. And I've never felt anything like this before in my entire life. I felt electricity from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Like, it was like, I liken it to if there was a light switch. If you turn a light switch on and off real quick, like, that's what happens. Like, you got a little flash. And I was laying on the ground, and I remember thinking, I was like, oh, my God, George, get up right now, or otherwise you'll never be able to get up. So if that was that scary for me, and I'll tell you that after that happened, because I think that happened my 4th or 5th year, it took me at least a month to get back to a place where I could run through and actually hit people without fear. I don't know if I ever got it all the way back because that was a scary time. And that's like a life-changing time. And when I was in Jacksonville, I also saw the same thing my rookie year happen to Keith Mitchell. You see those guys go down like that. And the first time, I'll never forget the first time I saw it happen. It was Chucky Mullins at Ole Miss, who ended up paralyzed. I'm not sure if he passed away now or not, but he ended up completely paralyzed when he was at Ole Miss. I mean, I was like a young kid. I was still living in Memphis at the time. And there's 15. So a guy just sent in. He said there was 15 minutes one time that he was knocked out. I've never been unconscious knocked out before, but I'll tell you about a time when I was in Buffalo, I had a really bad concussion and I was sick for days. Yeah, so all prayers and well wishes to him. Last thing up for today is LiAngelo Ball. You guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed, all that. So LiAngelo Ball, Lavar Ball's middle son, he was at UCLA. Yeah, yes, I said was at UCLA. Because if you saw the news yesterday, Lavar Ball took his son out of UCLA to prepare for the NBA draft. And that perplexed me. Because mind you, I'm a guy who has been on Lavar Ball's side. I've been on Lavar Ball's side, like fully. Like I cannot tell you how much that I have defended him. I've written articles about it saying how great of a dad he is and all that. And that because up until now, everything the man has done has come up aces. Like, he's made some poor decisions at times, which I believe. However, everything has pretty much come up aces so far. He has not screwed up anything with his kid so far. His kid made a bad mistake. But now I question him taking his son out of UCLA because even Adrian Wojnarowski, who's a big-time NBA newsbreaker, all this stuff, he said that he's not on any of their scouting lists, not even the extended list. That's what a GM told him. And there's no way, I do not believe that Lavar Ball is exploiting his kids. I believe at this point in time, he's a dad who's being way overprotective. Way overprotective. Because this is not the first time that he started to take his ball and go home. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended. Take his ball and go home. At AAU, walked off the court, ended the game. Not the only time. He's mad at UCLA, white players on the court, this and that. So there's some tendencies to him taking his ball and going home and also blaming other people. Because my son will tell you, I get upset with him for trying to blame other people for stuff that happens to him and stuff that he caused. Because truth be told, even though I don't believe that LiAngelo and Cody Riley and Hill, all three of them, should have been suspended as long as they have been, I thought 5 to 10 games max. 5 to 10 games max for these kids. And then let them get back to playing basketball. So apparently that's not going to happen. So he thinks that he's going to take his kid and get him ready for the NBA draft. I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. Because I get protecting your kid, and he said he's not enrolling him at any other college. I'm like, dude, you are doing your kid a disservice at this point in time with this decision. Because I thought it was a good decision that he took LaMelo out of high school. But he took his ball and went home there. Can't run from your problems. Like, this is what I tell the kids all the time, especially in sports. You have to compete. Sometimes the coach is going to make decisions that you don't like. You have to grin and bear it, and you have to find a way to overcome the situation. And Lavar Ball is not willing to do that at this point in time. And there's modeling at home, right? Like, your kids do things, and they model it after stuff that you do. And so if you don't model good things for your kids, they will pick up bad habits and do the same things that you do, and you'll be upset about it. I've had the same situation. Had a discussion with my kid last night about something that I struggled with. That's the truth. And so I was mad about it because I'm like, yo, dad's done better with this. This is something dad fixed. Need you to do better from the beginning. And that's just how it works, though. But, like, if you continue to make excuses like LaVar Ball is doing for his kid and blame everybody else for what's happening to him. Oh, everybody's haters. No, if everybody's hating on you, guess what? It's probably you on some level. Because there are some times that people do hate on you. However, when everybody is, in your mind, if everybody is conspiring against you, no, it's you. It is you. Because nobody has that many haters. Nobody. Yeah, so if I'm LaVar Ball at this point in time, I mean, obviously a tiger doesn't change his stripes, and you don't start swimming downstream after you've been swimming upstream for so long. So there's no way that, I mean, I guess his whole goal is to get his 3 sons on the Lakers, but LiAngelo's probably going to be a G League player at this point in time. Are you cool with that? You wanted $1 billion $1 billion shoe deal. You wanted $1 billion shoe deal. You don't get $1 billion shoe deals from second-round draft picks or guys who go undrafted. That's just the truth. You get $1 billion shoe contracts from people and kids and adults, whatever it is, who are well regarded, and they're usually come out highly drafted, highly regarded, all that. Yeah, so I don't see it. I question it for one of the first times since the beginning of LaVar Ball. I still support the Ball family and what they're trying to do. However, this is no good, LaVar. This is no good. You're setting a bad precedent for your kids because they'll take their ball and go home. Literally. Next up, so I know his son shouldn't have stolen. His son shouldn't have stolen anything. So the fact that you actually have him say, you know what? Oh, this punishment's too much. Yeah, so we're going to leave because the punishment's too much. Really? Really? No, when you do something wrong, you don't get a chance to choose your consequences. You don't get to choose how they are adjudicated a lot of times. No way. You do not get that opportunity. When you screw up, you got to face the music. you don't face the music, yeah, you can take your ball, run, and go home. But if you do that, you will always be taking your ball and go home, and you'll never end up anywhere because you have to go through some adversity to be great in life. That's the truth. And I heard something yesterday. I thought it was great. Don't count your struggles. Count your wins. Count your hustle. Count everything that is positive, and it will change your life. Going back before we get out of here today, so I will have updates on Willie Taggart throughout the day. I'm going to see what's going on with Coach Arroyo and that tweet, whether he's going back down to Houston. Because if he's going back down to Houston and Willie Taggart's not on that plane, yeah, then George is right. Then George is right. And remember that this is about me being honest with you guys. This is about me being honest with you guys, open with you guys, and letting you guys know everything that I hear when it is true. That's why you didn't see me tweet for hours and hours and hours, because I'm sitting here hustling for you guys, trying to make sure I can give you accurate information besides some of the crazy stuff that people were saying yesterday. Oh, he's flying to Tallahassee. Oh, he's here, he's there. No, he's not. No, he's not. He was where exactly. If you checked my Twitter feed, I was correct everywhere I told you that this man was. Thank you guys for joining me today. Oh, wait. Oh, that's a good question. Did Knight actually meet with Taggart? That was the plan. That's what was said. I cannot confirm yet if that actually happened. I will find out, and when I do find out, I will let you guys know. Right now, do I think he stays? No, I do not think he stays. I think they get the buyout worked out and Taggart walks out the door. That's still where I feel right now. All right, appreciate you guys joining me, and make sure you send your emails to unafraidshow@gmail.com for the Unafraid Anonymous Mailbag. That's where people send in all their questions, all their scenarios, friends, love, life, kids, any question about that, and I answer it in an unafraid way and real, and I will never reveal your name, like I don't reveal the sources. All right, you guys, peace out. We'll catch you guys maybe later on today if some more Taggart news drops, if it actually goes down. If not, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Make sure you check Twitter feed.